Hello, and welcome to the Tavern Chat podcast. I'm your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor of the Tenkar's Tavern blog. We have some voicemails from Joe the Lawyer regarding the announcement that Paizo is going to be putting out a 5e book with its latest crowd-funded project. So, and then after that, I got some other 5e, related news. But first, let's hear from.
Hey man, Joe the lawyer. You forgot one important thing I think about that Kingmaker thing. One little aspect of it is that when they released Kingmaker, whatever, 8 or 10 years ago, it was when the old school thing was just surging, right? Remember? And so what they did was they came out with this thing that they touted as a sandbox campaign. Now I actually played in it with a DM who was good at Pathfinder, and I played with through a couple sessions of it. It was the most railroady fucking sandbox I've ever seen in my life. It was so railroady. It made everything that Dave Wizards of the Coast put out for 5e look like a sandbox. That's how fucking railroady it was, right? So it was funny. But I wonder if there's an aspect of it they're trying to appeal to not only 5e people but a lot of old schoolers too. You know what I mean? Knowing that we go back and forth with 5e a lot of times. So it's interesting. There's their choice of product. Is what I'm saying. Think about it.
So now, I'll be the first to admit that I did subscribe to the initial Paizo adventure paths. I probably did for the first 2 or 3 years. Never read them. I would get the envelope, put it on a shelf, because it just didn't really strike me as something I was going to use at the time. And I guess I still was on the fence about whether or not Pathfinder would be a viable system for me. But as I never went to third edition in the first place, Pathfinder was really never viable for me, I guess, in the second place. As for Kingmaker being, in theory, a sandbox, I find that surprising because I've never seen any of the Paizo adventure paths from the. Again, I haven't read them, but I've read the summaries of them. I've read reviews of them, and they never came off as anything other than pretty much railroady. To some extent, I guess a commercial adventure from a major publisher is by necessity, I guess, to some extent railroady because you have to, I guess, keep people on a certain path so everything gets seen in the adventure. So people go, "Oh, I missed that," but I don't know. But Joe follows it up. So let's hear Joe's follow up.
Now, just on the part two, Jackson, just on the aspect of Pathfinder actually doing this, trying to get into the 5e market, which do you blame them? I mean, shit, they can't possibly be doing as well as they were with 5e coming out stealing their bacon and being the new popular thing. I mean, yeah, shit, even with just having Stranger Things alone's probably driven a lot of people into 5e. Now, the thing about 5e is, it's like that whole expression: once you go 5e, you never go back. Can you go from? You could go from 5e, I think, to simpler. Are there just as many 5e fans who want to go way the fuck more complicated? Or is 5e complicated enough? Of course, for me, as an old schooler, it's complicated enough. I wonder if they're losing potential people, whereas, if you developed along with the complications that led up to Pathfinder, you're there, all right? You've grew along with it, and that's where you like it. That's your sweet spot. But for the folks who start with 5e, I wonder what the ratio is to go up versus go down in terms of complication.
I think you hit the nail on the head to some extent. It is what you experienced initially. Like I came in with AD&D 1E, which is much more complicated, I guess, than Basic Expert would have been. And these days, I am most comfortable with something along those Basic Expert, original D&D, Clone, Swords and Wizardry, Labyrinth Lord, Axe. I would not want to. I don't even want to play Osric at this point because it's just too heavy for me. So I don't know if Pathfinder players are. I mean, Pathfinder 2 is from my understanding, is a slight simplification of Pathfinder. It's not going to be backwards compatible. So, and yes, 5e did certainly steal a lot of the thunder from Pathfinder because 5e replaced the, shall we say it, failed 4e. And since Pathfinder was a response to 4e, 5e was a response to 4e, and I think 5e was a better response to 4e. Just my opinion. Good points. Now, on to the other 5e news. I find this very interesting. There's an article up on why can I forget this stuff? Ars Terrica. In any case, it is Bethesda released basically a 5e adventure on their website as a free teaser for their upcoming downloadable content for the Elder Scrolls Online later this month. All right. They literally ripped off a DM's Guild adventure. Now, you could say, well, the similarities are just that. The similarities, it doesn't mean that they actually are rip. Here's the original. There's nothing like the desert to make people feel small and insignificant. In every direction, huge dunes roll across the landscape, and even bigger sky looms above. Nothing, here's the rip, nothing beats the desert to make people feel small and unimportant. In every direction, enormous dunes roll across the landscape, and even larger empty air skies above it. Yes, yes. The oasis of Bethesda is a motley collection of sun-bleached tents in the vast Anarch Desert. The oasis on the border between Cyrodiil and Esthwer is a colorful collection of sun-drenched tents in the vast desert of Elsewhere. Through various means, it has been arranged that you would meet as M. the Cavender in the large Kalishman-style tent that passes for a tavern here. In various ways, it is arranged that a group of adventurers would get acquainted with a caravan leader named Kareem. His big tent is filled with several Khajiit, which seem unaffected by the heat, and they stare at you cautiously. So, yes, it's a fucking rip. Now, also, how do you know it's a rip? Because, oh, gee, go figure, they pulled it from their website as they do an investigation. I you know, this isn't the first time we've had plagiarized products in the marketplace, and you can't even excuse this one with the, well, it's OGL and you can rip OGL. Here's the deal with OGL, just to remind you. You can't rip the IP. So you can rip the game mechanics, sure, but you can't, if you're going to be doing somebody else's adventure, unless it's all released OGL, which this was not, it's on the DM's Guild, it isn't even OGL. Um, you're going to be in trouble for doing shit like that. Now, a while back, Barrel Rider Games had its Labyrinth Lord classes being ripped word for word because they were OGL by somebody who was reselling the stuff on Drive-Thru RPG. That got shut down. And I'm glad that Bethesda, when confronted with this, shut it down. But it should never have gotten to this place. Sorry. Yeah, it should never have gotten to this place in the first place. In any case, folks, that is the news of the day. Yes, Bethesda accused of plagiarizing from the DM's Guild. Interesting times. As always, stay safe, be well, roll those dice, roll them well. God bless. Uh, I will talk with you all tomorrow. Later, folks.